Hey you guys, I hope you're well. So I wanted to talk about two of my favorite things. So this is going to be directed at you guys that are type A, holla, and our business people, entrepreneurs. There's just a very special place in my heart for you guys because I am you, right? Being type A is something very special, right? I laugh because a lot of times some of my friends will be like, oh, you're type A. And I never really fully understood that. I was like, okay, I never got offended by it because I didn't understand it. And the longer I'm on this journey of coaching and being coached and being an entrepreneur, the more I learn to just fully embrace all of me. Being the intensely caring and the aggressively helpful woman that I am, right? And also just embracing my type A. Like, some people probably mean that when they say that to me, like, you're type A. Probably a little derogatory, but it's okay because, I own it now. Yes, I am type A. Yes, I'm driven. I'm very competitive. I am super organized, and time is something that's important to me. I don't like wasting it. And yes, I can be aggressive, right? And money's important to me. I love money. And I embrace it, right? Because I know I'm not the only type A person out there. I think there's lots of us type A people, and a lot of type A people also happen to be entrepreneurs, right? Funny story. So when I worked in higher education, which does not love type A people, by the way, my coworkers, so I was an academic advisor, and my coworkers, I had one of them that was older than me, and he would always say, Kim, you just don't play well in the sandbox with others. And I would laugh, that didn't make me feel bad about me. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I want my sandbox. I don't want to play in your sandbox. I would play in my sandbox. My sandbox is organized. My sandbox is clean. My sandbox has an agenda. We get there. We talk about it. We don't spend hours talking about our feelings. We get action plans and we go get shit done. That's my sandbox. I don't like your sandbox. We just talk a lot and don't get anything done. So I think that's why a lot of times us entrepreneurs find ourselves as entrepreneurs, right? We tend to do better as our own bosses. We have our own way of doing things, and especially for type A. And so I am here for you, right? I just want to support you because we need support, right? We're very independent. We're very driven. Some of us have a hard time asking for help. Some of us don't. We have a tendency to be perfectionist. And this is super interesting. So some of you are going to be like, I'm not a perfectionist because I was you. I was like, I am not a perfectionist. I have a family member that is a perfectionist. And this person will not turn in a project until it is perfected. And I'm more like, meh, that email sounds good. Probably missing a comma, probably some run-on sentences. Don't care. Gonna send it. At least it's out in the world. Done. To-do list. Moving on to the next task. So I never really identified as a perfectionist. And so I was getting coaching from my wonderful coach, and her name's Carrie. And Carrie was like, so, not all perfectionists are called perfectionists. Okay. She's like, some perfectionists label it as competitiveness. Okay, where are you going with this, Carrie? And she's like, actually, competitiveness that has perfectionism is like perfectionism on steroids. Well, I could probably identify with that. And so she asked me, have you ever played a sport in where you're not good? Yes. Volleyball. And she's like, so what do you do? And so I'll just go on with a volleyball example. Like, I won't play. I will, like, if we're on the beach even, and I love the beach, people love the beach. If we're on the beach, and I love sports, I'm an athlete, and people are playing beach volleyball, I won't play because I suck at it. And it's not fun to me because I'm beating myself up the whole time. Like, why can't I get this? This is stupid. You're just hitting a ball in the air. So I won't play. I won't. And she was like, so you won't show up? Yeah, you're right. Or I've noticed in CrossFit that if there's a group of girls that are a lot stronger than me, I won't work out with them. I'll go find a group of girls that probably are not as strong as me, so then I can be the stronger girl in the group, right? I get it. It's an ego thing. Like, I get it. And I also feel very intimidated by those stronger girls, so I won't be as friendly and outgoing to them because I'm intimidated. So she's like, so you won't show up. You'll have thoughts like, this is not for me, this isn't fun, this isn't interesting. I'm kind of bored with this. She's like, really, those thoughts are just, I can't control the outcomes. I can't win. I can't do this perfectly, so I'm not going to try. And so as I started looking and thinking at that, I was like, oh my gosh, I do that. Like, if I can't control the outcomes and know that I'm going to get what I want, or that I'm going to be successful, or I'm going to win, I won't show up and do it. Which, if you're an entrepreneur, you know, is a key element to being a successful entrepreneur. You have to show up, and you fail your way to success. You look at all the greats, and when I call greats, it probably, like, it means for me, people that have made a lot of money, multi-million-dollar companies, multi-million-dollar businesses, people that are in the public spotlight, right? Like, I guess that's just what I've attached success to. Those greats have felt their way there. They are risk takers. They are willing to do things. They're willing to go play the sport and suck at it because they know that's how they're going to get better. They're willing to show up even though they're not going to be very good. And so I'm thankful that she pointed that out, that is a perfectionist tendency in me that I thought was just being competitive, and I was totally not even seeing the excuses that I was creating for not showing up. It's like, I love coaching. If you don't know that by now, like, I love coaching because it shows me my blind spots all the time. Things that I just accept as reality and truth, that this is factual, are really a lot of times a blind spot, a thought error that I'm having. I think it's facts, but it's not. It's just simply a subjective interpretation I made that I created a belief into. So, like, me being competitive or thinking like, oh, that's not really interesting to me. It's not my thing. It's not my jam. This doesn't really matter. All of that verbiage right there is really code for, I'm not good at this. This is uncomfortable. I know I can't be successful in this, so I'm not going to try. The whole time I just thought, literally, this isn't interesting. This isn't my jam. I thought that I took it for face value. That's what it meant. And it wasn't. It was me putting a very nice, pretty wrapper around excuse for not doing hard things. So, yeah, hard things. As entrepreneurs, we have to do them. We have to take risks. We have to be willing to fail and fail again and keep failing. And so for us to be willing to do that, especially as type A's, we have to understand what failure is. We have to define what failure is. And there's lots of different definitions. You already currently have a definition of failure. So I was talking to a fellow entrepreneur, and his definition of failure was not having the nice home, not making six figures, and not having a stable job that he worked 8 to 5 and was investing in his retirement. However, So that was failure. If he didn't achieve these things, he was failing. However, he had such a desire and passion to create his own business. Like he was working for another company doing his business job, and he really wanted to create his own business. And he wanted to take this profession that he's in and meld it with some coaching, which is a phenomenal concept. Like he's going to be very successful when he does do it. But his definition of failure was holding him back from becoming an entrepreneur, because he thought if he didn't have these things and follow the trajectory that society said, then he failed. Which I hope by now you guys know that all thoughts are optional. We have 60,000 thoughts a day. 90% of them, according to Joe Dispenza, are the same thoughts that we had yesterday and the day before and 15 years before that. So we're on repeat with a lot of our thoughts. And we think that they are actual factual evidence that we are pulling and believing. But most of them, a high percentage of them, are subjective interpretation to our environments. They are not factual. We just interpret them through our brain, our lens, and how we see the world. So if that's true, which it is true, but if your will and brain is willing to believe that, then your definition of failure is optional. It's just something you've picked up, gathered, and then started creating evidence to prove it true. So you can change your definition, and I'm here to offer you up a different definition of failure. My definition of failure is quitting. Hold on, stay with me. Quitting because I don't want to feel the emotions anymore, right? You guys are entrepreneurs, you know how hard it is, right, to be an entrepreneur. It's lots of hours, which is fine. I think a lot of us don't really mind the hours. It's a lot of sacrifice, not getting to go to things because you gotta work. It's a lot of brain power and energy, right? Yeah, there's a grind aspect to it. But what's really hard about it, and what I truly love about business and being a business owner, it's a mirror. And it shows you your stuff. When you're starting out and you're starting a business, it's just you. You are everything. You're the accountant, you're the finance, you're the marketer, you're the advertiser, you're the content creation person, you are the billing and accounts receivable, you're the janitor, you are it all. It's all on you, right? Because it's your baby, and that's the beauty. I think I appreciate that now, that you have to be all at first, because it just helps you grow and develop, right? And it forces you to see what you're made of. But it also creates this mirror, and you have to look at yourself because you are reflected in your business. And all your insecurities and all your self-limiting thoughts, all of that is going to bubble up to the surface. It has to, right? Because you're being faced and forced to be put in situations where you don't know what to do, and you're having to figure it out, and you're having to ask yourself to find answers, and you can't rely on XYZ to get you there. All responsibilities on you. And so many of us entrepreneurs at the beginning don't trust ourselves, and we don't believe that we have the knowledge or the ability to figure it out. So we start modeling our business after other people's business. And there are thousands of ways to do business. If you study people that are very successful business owners, like I follow Amanda Frances. Amanda Frances, she makes over $3 million a year. And then Stacy Daymond, she's at $6 million a year. Brooke Castillo's at $32 million a year. They all three do business completely differently. And if you look at all the entrepreneurs or business owners that you're following, they all do business very differently. So my brain used to explode at that. Because I'm type A, I wanted a plan. Here's how to get from point A to point B. You follow this plan and you will become a millionaire. And the more I tried to seek that out and the more I tried to replicate other people's stuff, the more I was chasing my tail. Like, it wasn't authentic. I was having to force myself to do stuff. It wasn't feeling in aligned with who I am, right? Because the way Amanda Francis runs her business is authentic to Amanda Francis. And we are very different people. And so I'm learning you have to trust yourself. And you have to trust your ability to figure it out. You cannot replicate someone else's business model and expect it to work exactly like it did for them for you, because you're a totally different person. And so that's why all that stuff bubbles up. It's just this insecurity and feeling of unworthiness and not enough, and am I doing it right? Maybe I should do it like them. There's a certain way to do it. A good business person would do it this way. It's supposed to be done this way. You know what I'm talking about. You've done that. You've been there. And it's exhausting, isn't it? So exhausting. I remember our first year of business with Thrive and Align Healing, Dr. Carmen and I. That's what I was doing. I didn't believe that I was a good businesswoman and I didn't know what to do. So I was just trying to do all the things I was supposed to be doing, right? So we had a retreat. We marketed it. We bought ads. It flopped. Not one person registered for that retreat. And we took a financial loss. And I invested in Facebook ads. I learned how to do them. Made Facebook ads. Did Instagram ads, right? Used the hashtag, tag locations, right? What else did we do? We did live webinars, and like none of it. I tried to build an email list. None of it, not any of that, got any traction. Not one client, not one purchase, no revenue coming in from that. And when I finally just gave up and said, I don't know what else to do. I've done all the things that business people do, and I don't know what else to do. Obviously, I'm not very good at this, so I made it mean something. Obviously, I'm not very good at this. I'm not a good business person. I don't know what to do. I just gave up. And so I just kind of let go of all of those things. And one day, I had been part of a book club, and I quit that book club. And I was like, I really want to have my own book club. I love reading. Carmen loves reading. Dr. Carmen loves reading. Why don't we have our own book club? And she loved the idea. So we brainstormed it out. We created our book club. We launched it. And it was our first successful revenue accumulating venture in a year and a half of business. Which I want to feel shame around that. Like, what kind of people takes a year and a half to start creating revenue? But I know we're not the only ones. There's a lot of people out there. I was just trying to replicate what other people were doing, and it wasn't aligned with who we are. So when we started getting in line with who we are, like, okay, we're not going to do those things anymore. No more Facebook ads, no more Instagram ads, no more retreat stuff, like none of that. All we're going to do is two things. We're going to have our podcast. Why do we have our podcast? Because we love it. That's it. We get to serve people, provide content, and we love doing it. And we're going to have our book club. That's it. And now that business is making money. So that's my advice to you, is you've got to get in line with who you are. And you've got to embrace all of that uncomfortable emotions and all that uncomfortable feelings and not resistant anymore. And resistant for me means trying to fix it. If I was just more self-confident, if I was more this, if I was less that, then I would be a good business person. Then my business would start creating revenue. And that's not it. And I know our brains want to argue with that. It's when you come in line with yourself and you recognize the 50-50. So in my coaching practice, I tell my clients that humans, we want to be perfect. Society is kind of indoctrinated in this. Family systems, religious systems, very heavily, have indoctrinated us that humans are broken. And so we spend our lives trying to fix that brokenness and become perfect, right? Because we feel like if we're perfect, life is better there. That's where we'll find the ultimate happiness, the contentment, the joy, the purpose, right? Is finding that perfection. However, we know no one is perfect. No one's ever been perfect. No one's perfect. The world is not perfect. It is 50-50. It is 50% good and amazing and 50% negative and shitty, right? Humans are too. Every single one of us is 50% good and wonderful and 50% kind of shitty. Like we just have some stuff. We're just have some stuff. But that's our perfection. That is our perfection. That is where humans are perfect. Is we are perfectly 50-50. The earth, the world is perfectly 50-50. We have to have that 50-50 because that's what creates growth and involvement. Just imagine if the world was perfect, right? And you were happy all the time and you were kind and polite all the time. Like that was your constant. We wouldn't appreciate it. We would take it for granted and we would be so bored, right? But because we have this negative contrast, we have days that are good and we have days that aren't so good, it helps us understand the difference. Like, that's good. I like that. That's not so good. I appreciate the good days. Another example, when you're sick, it makes you really appreciate feeling healthy. The 7 months that you felt healthy, you never really thought about it. You just kind of took it for granted. But those 2 days that you were sick, you're like, man, I just take completely for granted like what feeling good feels like. And I think that is beautiful. I used to hate that, but I think it's beautiful now that we have this contrast and this 50-50, that yin and yang, right? Because it makes life have so much more depth and texture and availability to grow and evolve and rise up to our higher self. And so when we can come to a place where we accept who we are, both parts, and know that that is our perfection, that is our key and ticket to success. Mind-blowing, right? Mind-blowing. When I embrace fully who I am, that's when my trajectory for success starts to skyrocket. Instead of arguing and trying to fix me, just accept me. I am 50-50. I will show up on here sometimes like phenomenal, and sometimes I will not be so great. Everyone's like that, right? So my challenge is for you guys to, as type A's and entrepreneurs, is to start changing your definition of failure. So you're a little bit more willing to go fail. I encourage you guys to fail at least 2 times a week, just starting out. Eventually you'll get to where you're failing every day. And when you're failing every day, your business, you're going to start to see rapid growth in it. And so reframing that failure. Again, my definition of failure is that I quit because I'm unwilling to feel all the emotions anymore. But as long as I'm willing to feel all the emotions that are going to come up, like, I'm not going to quit. So then nothing else is failure. It's just trying something and it worked, and trying something and it didn't work. We do that in other areas of our life, like parenting. If some of you are parents, there's not a manual. You just do stuff like, oh, that really worked. They responded well. And you do this stuff and it's like, oh, that did not work, and I'm not doing that again. You don't label it as failing, and you don't attach that to your identity as a failure. You're just like, yeah, that worked, that didn't work. Moving on. That's what we have to get to in failure. That worked, it didn't work in my business. It means nothing about me and who I am as a person, the core of me. It just means I tried something and it didn't work, and I learned something from it, and I'm going to just pivot and I'm going to do this thing and see if that will work. And I'm just going to keep doing that until I fail my way to success. And I want to side note this before I let you guys go. I'm not saying that you shouldn't quit things, right? let's go back to my definition of failure, is that I quit because I'm unwilling to feel the emotions anymore. I did not say that just quitting. I think there's times when we need to quit things because it's not in line with who we are. It's not serving us. I think it's okay to quit then, right? Like when you are like, this doesn't align with who I am. I'm forcing a square peg into a round hole. Quit. And it doesn't mean you're a failure because you quit it. It means that you honored you and who you are. And you showed respect for yourself to just say that this doesn't work for me. Thank you. But I got to go find my round hole that my round peg is going to fit into because that's not working. So don't use that against yourself. My definition of failure, again, is quitting because I don't want to feel the uncomfortable emotions anymore. That's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the flip side.